Everybody for coming. You can tell we're a couple of days into practice. I'm already a little bit hoarse, but it's kind of an exciting time for everybody that's involved in the coaching profession. I know we always look forward to this time of year. You kind of get an opportunity to see your team for the first time and kind of shape and mold and kind of create an identity of what we're going to be able to put out on the field this year. Excuse me. We lost several good players last year, but we've got a lot of guys returning at all three levels, up front, at outside linebacker, inside backer, and in the secondary. And I hope we have an opportunity for these guys to kind of use their experience to create leadership for these younger guys. And I think we got some really good young players that's going to compete for some jobs, and we're kind of excited to get going.
Okay, we're going to open with John Zena right here in the front.
John Zena with Associated Press. You kind of touched on this earlier, but you lost 7 NFL draft picks. Some coaches don't ever coach 7 NFL draft picks in their career. How big a challenge is it to replace that kind of leadership, talent? And then I had a second.
Well, I think if in this profession, it happens every year and it happens everywhere. It really don't matter if they go to the NFL or they, go in the workforce. You got to replace them. So it's something that we had to do the year before, and it's been done here for a while, and it creates opportunities for other guys. That's why they came here, to have an opportunity to get on the field and compete and play, and I think we've got good competition everywhere.
Come back over here with Aaron.
Aaron Suttles, Tuscaloosa News. Deron Payne, where does he need to get better, and does he have the attributes to be a 3-down lineman?
He played some 3-down. All 3 downs last year. He's really worked hard in the offseason, I think, to, maybe get in better shape. That gives him an opportunity to do that. I think with the graduation of some guys, it also opens some doors for him to possibly be more of a 3rd-down guy.
Okay, we'll go back to Reiner in the back.
You guys seem to blitz a little bit more than, say, you guys did under Kirby. Can you talk about that philosophy, what led you to do that? And number 2, do you think that with the personnel that you have that you can do that as effectively this year?
Well, I think anytime you bring more than 4 guys, you're putting pressure on the back end, and to do that, you got to have guys who can stand up and play man-to-man. Obviously that's where the pressure's at. We had some guys back there that had experience, and we had some guys that were good blitzers. So I think over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll kind of see how we develop as a team and see if that's kind of our identity this year or not.
Okay, we'll come over. I'll just guys try to keep it to one question. I'll try to get back to you if we have time. Okay, I want to make sure everybody gets a question.
Jeremy.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I wanted to ask you about Rashawn. Where can he take his game to the next level now, and what are you kind of wanting to see from him to feel confident he can be that guy for you in the middle?
Rashawn's a really good athlete, and we got a group of guys that play inside backer that all have a unique skill set. Rashawn has, I think when he first got here, he was more of an outside pass rusher, and we'll continue to use him in that role. But to play every down, he moved inside this past year, and he's still learning, and I think he's improving every day.
Go back here to Rick.
Hey, Jeremy, Rick Carley, Fox 6. How important is it for you to bring a kid in as a freshman 3, 4, 5 years later, just let him or allow him to leave as a complete football player? So we're talking player development, if you can talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think one thing that's very unique here is if you guys, when you watch our team periods, we 2-spot, and that's one thing about player development that Coach Saban does is, we have 4 teams out there, so everybody gets the same amount of reps. So nobody's sitting on the side watching, and I think that is unique in the fact that guys have an opportunity to develop, and you see a big difference from the time that they're freshmen to the time they're seniors.
We'll come back over here with Michael.
I want to ask about Terrell Lewis. What's he bringing, and how are those guys going to replace? You have Tim Williams and Brian Anderson that are gone. How do you see those guys stepping in?
We got several guys that's returning at outside backer that had an opportunity to play last year. Terrell Lewis, Christian Miller, Anthony Jennings. And then we got some younger guys there. So that's why we practice. The kids are going to continue to work and and develop, and we'll kind of see over the next few weeks.
Come back up front with Tony.
Tony Sakalas, BamaInsider.com. I wanted to ask about the defensive end spot. What have you seen from Isaiah Buggs and Raekwon Davis, and do they push each other for that last spot?
Well, really, we don't have any. Nobody's really plugged into any spots. I think it's one thing that's very evident here over the last 10 years is Coach has what he calls a rep chart. There is no depth chart right now, so we've got 11 guys that are competing for 3 positions, and we've not even put pads on, so it's really hard to judge how defensive lineman's going to play without pads on. So we'll see over the next few weeks.
Come back over here to Chandler in the green.
Jeremy, kind of following up to that question, Coach Saban's talked about the one thing that you guys wanted to do out of the spring was develop more depth up front and defensive line. What do those guys have to do once you put pads on to show that they've earned that consistent playing time that you guys need?
Well, I think you said it right there, consistency. I think it's one thing about great defenses that is very unique is they find a way to do the right thing over and over and over again. If you watch college football, probably every team out there plays well at certain times in the games, but who can do it over and over? And I think that's one thing that our guys have got to prove in the course of the next couple of weeks.
Okay, go to the other side with Matt.
Jeremy, what have you seen from the summer enrollees at linebacker so far, the combination of Van Darius, Chris Allen, and Markel Benton, and what do you think are the individual strengths for those 3 guys, what they bring to the table?
Well, who'd you say again? Did you all the freshmen? Well, Dylan Moses was here in the spring, so we got 15 days with him, but the other guys during the summer, we don't watch them practice, so we're not out there with them. So basically we've had 2 days, so it's really hard to get a good gauge on what they can and can't do after 2 days.
Come back over here to actually Dwayne first.
Coach talked about the competition in that inside linebacker spot. Obviously, you work very much with that spot. You got Sean Dion and Rashawn, but just the guys behind him, like Davis, Mack Wilson, where do you see those guys?
Well, it's again, we got 4 groups that are out there competing. We watch all the tape. They're all running the same defenses every day. So we've got two days really of body of work. I think over the next couple of weeks, I think it'll kind of shake itself out, and we would love to have 6 or 7 guys that could play that spot.
Come back over to Chris Walsh.
What does it say about Minka that he can play either safety or cornerback, and are you tempted to kind of move him around a lot, even when you get a set position for him?
No, I don't think you're tempted to. I think his skill set gives you an opportunity to. The fact that he could play all 6 positions in the secondary allows you a little flexibility to kind of see who the other guys are. If we need help at corner, he can play corner. If we need him inside at star and money, he could play there, safety. So he's got a unique skill set, so that gives you a little flexibility.
Go in the back. Here.
Hi, Coach. Simone Eli. Every offseason is challenging. How has this offseason been challenging for you at home with a newborn who's now just a couple of months old, and how's that gone for you?
That's a good question there. You should ask my wife that. No, it's. I think everybody in here probably has children. I think it's probably the one of the most, to me, kind of precious deals. You bring one into the world, and to me, I look at it when it comes to coaching, it's the same deal. I have a son that plays at Jacksonville State, and I know how I want him to be treated. So when these guys walk in here at the University of Alabama, there's somebody's kid, and I tell my guys in the room all the time, which none of them really have children, but I said, I'm going to tell you something. If you don't pray, you're going to pray whenever your wife's pregnant. You'll start praying then. So I've been praying a lot.
Go back here with Ryder.
Could you talk about your experience at Florida State and also, just your relationship with Jimbo, and how many clues do you have of their offense, I guess, from that experience?
Well, in fall camp here, we've really been focusing on us. You know, I worked a year at Florida State and was very thankful for the opportunity. It was a great year. Had an opportunity to win a national championship and have a tremendous amount of respect for what they do and what they have done. But really right now we're kind of focused on us, and that's what we'll continue to focus on for the next few weeks.
Cecil in the back.
Hey, Coach. Last year, Raekwon Davis seemed like a guy that was just used to being the biggest guy on the field, the biggest guy in the room, and sort of used his physical talent. How has he progressed in terms of being a really more of a thinking college football player?
Well, I can say this, and it's not just about Raekwon. It's about probably every football player that comes into this program, and probably anywhere, you know. And in the recruiting process, kids are much better football players when they're a senior than they are when they're a freshman. And Raekwon was a freshman last year, and it's just kind of the process of developing as a football player. And I'm sure over the next couple of years he'll improve and he'll continue to get better.
With Trayvon Diggs, what are the challenges of going from wide receiver to corner, and how have you seen him progressed?
Well, the good thing is at wide receiver and you come over at a DB, you don't have any bad habits. So you're really just learning, and I think Trayvon's got a good skill set. And the one thing about him, he's a team player. Since he's been here, he said, hey, I'll play wherever y'all need me to play, and we appreciate him for that.
Dwayne, you got yours, right? Yes. I'm trying to keep up here. Chandler. A couple more, we'll be done.
Jeremy, Nick's talked a lot about the alpha dog personalities you guys lost off of that defense, and he's looking for some guys maybe to reassume those roles this year. Who are maybe some of the guys you saw in spring and now in fall that are kind of stepping up and kind of taking hold of that defense?
Well, I think when it comes to leadership roles, it's not something that you just do in the off season or during spring ball. I think it's something that kind of develops over time, and we're not there yet. And when it comes to the leadership roles, I think that develops as you practice, and that's why you have fall camp. That's why they all live in the dorm together. Kind of build some camaraderie there, and you know, you put them in adverse situations, and the guys who are the leaders, you know, they kind of rise to the top there, and you know, we'll figure it out over the next couple of weeks.
Last one over here with Drew.
Coach Pruitt, Drew DeArmond, ESPN 97.7 The Zone Radio in Huntsville, Alabama. Talk about the growth of Ronnie Harrison. He's an extremely emotional player, but I know he's seen a lot of action for you. And what do you see and seen out of him as far as his growth as a player from the spring to now?
Well, from spring to now, again, we've only practiced 2 days, but I think Ronnie is one of these guys that has played a lot of ball around here. And it's no different when guys sit in our room and we talk to them, you know. One of the first things I tell them is I'm not smarter than you, I'm just older than you. And I think as a football player, the more times that you're out there and you play, obviously you're going to get wiser. You've got more experience to draw from. So he's had 2 years that he's played here, and you know, I think it's kind of that progression. You hope that as a freshman, now he's a junior, he'll continue to improve and get better.
Okay, guys. Jeremy, thank you very much.